In a Budapest gift shop, a new salesgirl, played by Margaret Sullivan, meets the experienced salesman, played by James Stewart, and they quickly find that they do not like each other at all. Yet what they do not know is that they've been corresponding to one another via the mail, and when the salesman discovers that his pen pal that he's fallen for is actually the new salesgirl, he sets his sights on winning her in-person attention and affection. Wes, Darling Beat, and special guest Desiree go for a shopping trip to 1940s The Shop Around the Corner on View the Right Thing.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of View the Right Thing. I'm Wes, and with me, as always, is my podcasting bestie, my video game bestie, one of my just general besties, Darling Beat. Say hi, Beat.
Hello.
How are you?
I am super energetic, super here, super ready.
Oh, man. Exciting. So we have a special guest. Are you excited about our guest today?
I'm so excited.
So our special guest is my beautiful wife, Desiree. Say hi, Des.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm all right.
Just all right?
I mean, I'm pretty good.
All right. Just all right. I'll take it. Oh, all right. So, Des has hosted and been a guest on the podcast before. So
that is true.
Taken over the podcast in two other episodes. One was the Captain Marvel episode, where we did an all women thing, and we even had a special guest woman intro person. Dwayne sat that one out, so we can make it truly all women. And then we did you did a Wonder Woman one with our good friend Joey Hansa.
Yeah, Joey, good old Joey,
good old Josephine. And then you've done various episodes with me. Yeah. I know we did like Bohemian Rhapsody, and we did. I think you were on Beautiful Boy with Alexis.
Yes,
and probably a few others. But that's all I can think of off the top of my head. Look, there's like
a lot of episodes.
There's like 60 something episodes. So, and a lot of those had two movies, so it's really easy to kind of forget. Beat, do you know what Des does for a job?
Yeah.
Does
stuff. I don't want to get it wrong because last time I said the wrong thing and I felt so bad.
Oh yeah, she gets.
Did you call me a decorator?
She did.
How dare you?
She did, and I was like, "Don't ever say it to her, because there'll be problems."
Listen, no shade to decorators. Our jobs have a lot of crossover,
but it's different.
I used to get very heated about it. I feel like I've mellowed in my old age.
I lost a tooth over it once.
You did not!
Desi just hulking out.
How dare you!
Yeah, we call her She-Hulk. We call her She-Hulk for a reason.
I am an interior designer, if anyone listening to the podcast doesn't know.
So, so interior design. So
yeah, that's the thing I do.
What's that world like?
I mean, it's good. I'm unfortunately between jobs, though.
That's all right.
Yeah, it is what it is. I think
you're pretty talented, and you seem to pick up work very easily.
I had a very good interview today. I'm not worried.
Great. If you're not worried, then I'm not worried. If you're worried, then I'm definitely worried.
I have anxiety, but I think that's just normal for me. So
yeah. So one of the things that I noticed when I watch movies with you, so you prior to us being together, you weren't like, I wouldn't say you were a movie person.
No.
I would say now you're probably much more of a movie person.
Certainly more so.
You watch a lot of movies, and that's probably because I'm like, let's watch a movie. But one of the things that I really enjoy about watching movies with you is you have an eye for set design. Can you talk about some of like your favorite movie sets?
My favorite?
Because there's one that always comes to mind that you like cry over. Which that's the one that comes to mind for me. But
okay, so For those of you who don't know, who don't live in
Spoiler.
the same house as me.
Spoiler incoming for a movie.
Okay, so if you haven't seen
Batman Begins.
Begins
With Christian Bale.
with Christian Bale.
Pete, have you seen Batman Begins with Christian Bale?
Yes, I have.
Oh, that's
Okay, there's a scene where his beautiful fancy mansion is on fire, and it always makes me really sad.
good. Heartbreaking.
I'm just like, no, the house! And then I have to remind myself that it's just a movie, and it's a set.
They built the set for it, specifically for, they didn't burn the house down. A real house, a real mansion. Although Beat and I did learn that, like, on the set of Speed, they blew up a house. They really blew up somebody's house and then rebuilt their house for them.
That's pretty intense.
Yeah. But
Honestly,
for Batman, that did not happen.
No, but I mean, honestly, like, those people probably, assuming they hired a good contractor.
I mean, the studio did it, so I don't know.
Well, yeah, who knows? Could go either way. Depends on the studio. Depends on,
Sure.
They probably got ahead of the game with that. I'm sure they, brand new roof and walls and
Right.
all that stuff.
Roofs are expensive.
Yeah, they are.
Probably new foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah, they probably made out like bandits.
Bandits, probably.
Are there any other movie design or movie sets that really jump out at you? I know another one that you visually love, but I don't know that it's really interior design related.
Yeah, I think you're probably thinking of The Fall.
Yeah.
I love that movie visually. It's not a ton of interior. I feel like a lot of that movie's outdoor. I mean, like, there's, the stuff in the hospital or whatever, but...
There's a lot of structural beauty.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of, like, architectural beauty. That's
the word.
I do like... Structural made sense.
Yeah, no, I blanked on architectural.
Well, it's a good thing I'm not an architect. Jeez, I'd be offended.
Yeah.
I think that movie's very, very pretty, just in general, visually. There's a lot of color and very striking set design.
A lot of interesting patterns.
Yeah, a lot of interesting patterns and repeat, like they're in the stairs and stuff is all repeating pattern.
Yeah.
I'm making hand gestures like someone can see me.
Mm-hmm.
That's good podcasting right there.
I like it.
Let's see, I think I really like... I don't always love Wes Anderson's movies, but I always like his sets.
Okay.
What is the movie? What's that movie with the girl who has a pig nose?
Oh, Penelope?
Yeah, Penelope. That has some really great sets in it.
Never seen it.
What? Yes,
Her
you have.
house is beautiful.
How would I have seen it if you haven't?
I
seen
remember. I think you watched it when I wasn't at home or
That's
when I was away.
Crazy. Tom.
It's like Christina Ricci or something,
Yeah,
right?
Christina.
Yeah, no, I didn't see it.
No, I think you saw it. I think you're high.
Okay.
Guys, I think I'm gonna have to take Wes to the doctor. I think he's got dementia.
I mean, there's been several movies that you're like, you haven't seen that? And that's why we created this goddamn podcast.
Fair enough, but usually I'm the one saying that between the two of us.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm like, I haven't seen that. And you're like, either A, you're like, yes, you have. We watched it together, like I just was. Or you're like, I can't believe you haven't seen that.
Yeah. That happens.
I think anything with a decent budget tends to have pretty good set design. Just I know that's kind of like boring to say, but
No.
You know what I really liked set design wise? This is not a movie, it's a TV show, but Daredevil had some really great sets.
Oh, yeah. That's TV. How dare you?
Sorry.
So we didn't talk about it. It was something that kind of like slipped through the cracks in my notes. But for the last episode, the Die Hard episode with Nick, the interior design of the offices was based on, I think, your favorite architect.
Are you thinking of Frank Lloyd Wright?
That is the one. I hope that's your favorite architect. That's what I would guess.
I mean, he's certainly up there.
Yeah. So the design of the like lobby where they're having the main party with there's like a water feature and stuff is sort of designed to evoke a falling water kind of a vibe.
Gotcha.
So for those that don't know, Frank Lloyd Wright's Falling Water is probably his most famous.
Yeah, I mean, even if you don't know it, I'm sure you've seen a postcard of it or something,
A poster,
a picture of it in a movie or something.
There's a Lego set of it.
Yeah,
like
it's
very
very
iconic.
famous. Very famous American architect. I mean, did things overseas as well, but he's American.
No stained glass in that lobby, though.
Yeah.
Does Falling Water have stained glass in it?
I'm not sure.
Because that's kind of a thing for him, right?
It's definitely a thing for him, but I don't know that it was always a thing for him. It's
Stained
certainly
glass
not
and
in
tiny
every
bricks?
project. And what?
Tiny bricks.
Tiny bricks?
Like thin bricks.
Oh, yeah. It's like tiny bricks.
Yeah, they're like half the width of a normal brick.
But he also had a big, concrete block phase, which I think is a little bit less stained glassy.
That's more like Falling Water, right?
No.
Isn't it very just blocks? It's like very rectangular.
Yes.
It's a lot of glass, but
yeah, but that's more like brick and like stone. I'm talking about like Hollywood,
the House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah, the like formed concrete, like poured blocks.
So if people haven't seen the film, the House on Haunted Hill films, I think they use it in both. That's a Frank Lloyd Wright building.
The exterior
is, of
which
course.
Kills me because the interior looks nothing like a Frank Lloyd Wright house, and every time I'm like, these don't match. I can't marry them in my brain. I'm like, this house makes no sense.
Yeah, there's some really cool like concrete design, almost like lattice work or something.
Yeah, that's
like
the
wall.
concrete block where you're pouring the same concrete block a bunch of times with like a design or a pattern on the outside, and then building your building out of it.
You see how I keep bringing Frank Lloyd Wright back to the films? I'm good like that.
There was I thought of another one and I was going to say it and then I lost it.
Dark City. Shape of Water.
I do like Shape of Water.
You like Del Toro stuff?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a very specific visual style for sure.
He's got a Haunted Mansion vibe, Del Toro.
Yeah.
He's a big Haunted Mansion guy in real life.
Oh, I was going to say a movie you guys recently covered that has fantastic interiors. The Shining.
I thought you were going to say Speed.
The Speed?
The inside of that bus is amazing.
The inside of that bus, man, gets me all day long.
Yeah, that's not one of Beat's favorite films now, right, Beat?
The Shining.
Yes.
It's a very interesting set-wise in that it's based on a bunch of different hotels, but which shouldn't work together, and some of them don't. Like when he's like in the bathroom in the
shouldn't be there behind
I'm
the
like,
bar.
this doesn't. Well, not just physically like the space layout, but just like the style of that bathroom doesn't match the bar at all.
The gold room versus the red room.
Yeah, but like because it's a horror movie and it's kind of trying to throw you off, it sort of works in the movie's favor.
Yeah, it's like intentionally unsettling.
Yeah, exactly. Where you're like, wait, what? Like, why are we going between like different eras and completely different architectural styles and,
Yep, recently around Halloween I got a map of the hotel.
Nice.
And everything is just so confusing. When I look at it, I'm like, I don't remember this being here.
Like, wait a minute.
It's so good. So smart.
I do find myself, whenever we're watching something new, like, trying to, like, map out, like, the floor plan of something in my head. And sometimes if it doesn't actually work, then I get distracted.
Like, this is wrong.
I'm like, this doesn't make any sense.
Anything you can think of off the top of your head? That maybe recent?
Well, maybe not recently, but like when I've tried to do like Sims recreations of set buildings.
Oh, like you did like the Addams Family.
I do like Addams Family is really confusing. The Brady Bunch house, like there's
that doesn't
weird.
Work. That's like The Shining, the Brady Bunch house.
Yeah, it's like there's like rooms that just don't make any sense, and like they would look absolutely insane from the outside because there'd be like nothing below an upstairs room, so you just have like a weird like stilt or something.
Yeah, there's like a whole a whole like section of the house that would hang off.
That would just have like stilts or weird columns or something that doesn't make any sense. Which, especially for a show about the dad who's supposed to be an architect, is like, come on, guys, come on.
Yeah, I think me and Ruth spent like 3 days. We were reading a book, and every time we found something new about the layout of the property, we would like draw it, and then mine would look completely different from hers. And I was like, oh, we're so confused.
That's funny. You just lay them on top of each other, like the two drawings. Then you have a new drawing.
It works. Just introvert images until they match.
Yeah, I feel like if we ever moved into like an old house that had like a false wall, I would like pick it up pretty quick and be like, "There's something not right here. Like, what's going on between these walls?"
There's a hidden creeper room somewhere.
Yeah.
So I recently watched Crimson Peak, and the layout of that house confused me.
So that's Del Toro again, I think, right? Crimson Peak.
Well, Winchester House is like that, but that's like a really specific weird case where like the
lady
actual
was
house
crazy.
was like that. Like she was nuts and would like keep like adding and taking away things, and like just that house is bonkers.
Yeah, Crimson Peak is Del Toro, by the way.
Del Toro, yeah, he's great. Love Del Toro.
But that's one of those haunted houses,
yeah.
right? Like, yeah, Winchester is interesting. Have you ever seen the Winchester Mystery House, Beat?
No, I haven't.
So to tie it in, just real quick, so we're not just on architecture podcast.
Yeah.
They did make a movie about this, and they sort of like put a plot behind it, which is not. It's like based on a basic idea, but not really true, because the movie is like very much about ghosts.
Yeah.
But basically, the widow of the man who was the Winchester rifle dynasty, or the estate, she thought she began building this house and thought she was being haunted by the ghosts of people that had been killed by the guns. At least that's my understanding of the story.
Yeah.
And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, Viewsters. And so she created this weird, bizarre house to confuse the ghosts, right? Was that?
I think that was part of it. Yeah, I don't know. She seemed very unhinged.
and my understanding is that like she always wanted to continue to build it because the ghosts wanted her to continue building the house or something.
Yeah.
And so there's like stairways that go to a door, and the door opens, and it just drops. There's nothing there. Like if you were to walk through it, you kill yourself or something. Or they would open to a brick wall,
or like weird like ramps
rooms
for no reason, or like like rooms that just don't make sense.
I feel like they make jokes, not jokes, but like little nuances to that in a lot of cartoons.
Sure. Yeah, sure. But yeah, so this is a real house in kind of Northern California, mid California. It's kind of in between Southern California and Northern California, probably a little closer to Northern. But it's a real place, and
I've never been to the actual house. Just
Yeah, I don't think I've been either.
But yeah, it's supposed to be pretty.
But you can go and like take tours of it and stuff. It's supposed to be pretty cool. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So yeah, that's
what
I do and how it relates to movies, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Well, Beat, do you have any interior design questions? Are you remodeling anything, or?
She is. When she gets her new house, then she will.
Oh, I'm so excited to make that place look funky.
Funky.
That will be a Del Toro situation. All right. Well, nothing on in your brain, Beat?
Not at the moment, no.
All right. I think I'm gonna. I should skip the trailer question, right, Beat?
Well, you and I have probably seen some trailers.
Yeah, but Beat's not seen anything. Okay, what trailers have you seen, Des, that you're really excited about?
Well, we just saw a movie in the theater, so there were some trailers attached to that.
This is just keep in mind this is coming out like we're recording this ahead of time.
Yeah, well, of course, of course.
Okay, way to kill the illusion.
What? What was attached to that?
You don't brought it up.
I know we saw some. Doesn't mean I remember what they were.
Yeah, great. I know. I mean, I saw the Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, I saw that.
Quantumania trailer. I don't know. I don't remember what else we saw. I thought you had something in mind that you wanted to talk about.
No,
I was going to skip this section.
No, I just remembered that we had seen some.
Cool.
And thought maybe you would be like, "Oh yeah, we did see some," and then you would. Think
you want to know how bad I am at this job?
Yeah. Tell me.
I went to go see a movie last week, And I read my book throughout the trailers.
Beat.
How dare you?
Breaking my heart.
Throw
What movie did you go see?
the whole podcast bestie away. I went to go see The Woman King, and it was so amazing.
Yeah.
I cried and cried and cried some more. It was so great.
Did we talk about this already? I feel like we talked about this.
The fact that I seen the trailer.
Oh, so then you went and actually saw the movie.
Yeah. It was so good.
All right. Well,
I don't remember what other trailers were attached to that movie we saw. Sorry.
good.
Good talk. Good talk, everybody.
Like, give me a second. Maybe I can remember something. Oh, you know, actually, I did see a trailer for a sequel / spinoff movie, I guess, or a follow up. I don't know what you call it, but there's one called Missing, and it has a young actress I really like, and her name, I'm gonna look it up real quick because I want to get it right. Oh my god, where is it? Why isn't it on IMDb? That's super weird. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's like... Okay. Apparently, IMDb fails me. Let me just find it here quick. Her name...
Storm Reed?
Oh,
Storm Reed. Thank you. So, well, I don't know why I couldn't find it on frickin'... So, did you see the movie Searching with John Cho?
No.
Oh, highly recommend. I went and saw it, and I remember when the trailer came out for it, I was like, this movie's not going to be any good. And I went and saw it, and as soon as I came out of the theater, I was like, I have to eat my hat, because this was fantastic. I've seen it multiple times now. And it's all almost like a found footage movie, but it's all told from the perspective of his computer. So his daughter goes missing, and it's all about this. He's trying to search for her, and so he's having like video calls and checking emails and listening to music, and it's sort of told over the course of like a week or so, I think, and it's all just basically told from his computer desktop. And so there's a new one called Missing instead of Searching with Storm Reed, and it's about how her mom and her boyfriend go to Colombia, and she goes to pick them up when they come home from the airport, and she never comes home. And the whole thing again is told from like her cell phone, like she's recording, like she's going to record essentially a TikTok for holding the sign at the airport, and then they don't show up, and video calls with detectives and stuff like that. So I'm very excited for that, because I want to see how they kind of up the ante for the film.
We just saw one with Margot Robbie.
Babylon.
Oh yeah,
that's
Babylon.
Damien Chazelle's new movie, and I don't know how I feel about it right now. It's got Brad Pitt in it. Brad Pitt's a big question mark right now in the world. So
who knows?
I mean,
why do you say that?
There's some allegations about Brad Pitt.
Oh,
we don't have to go
do some investigation.
Yeah, we don't have to go into it on the podcast because I don't know enough to really be able to talk about it. I just that's about as far as I can go. Is that there are some allegations?
Yeah,
some not great stuff. So, but yeah, Babylon. I mean, it's Damien Chazelle, who did La La Land and he did First Man. He's a very talented filmmaker. He's got a really distinct visual style, and he handles like big scenes really, really well, as shown by La La Land. Mm-hmm. But I don't need to see him tell another story about LA, and that's what this is about movie making. And so I'm just sort of like, I don't need you to go back to that well. Do something new.
Yeah.
But you do what you're good at, I suppose.
Makes sense.
But Margot Robbie, I mean, she's amazing.
She's fantastic.
We watched something with Ryan Gosling, The Gray Man.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a funny thing in that where they referenced him as a Ken doll, which is funny because he's playing Ken in the Barbie movie with Margot Robbie. Yeah. So
pretty funny.
I thought that was... I don't know if that was... I feel like it has to have been intentional.
Yeah, it must have been.
But, new Magic Mike movie? You saw a trailer for the
Oh,
new Magic
yeah,
Mike?
we did see a trailer for the new Magic Mike. That's right. Have you seen those movies, Beat?
Yeah, I've seen those. I do. Oh God,
You love them, is what I'm
They're-
hearing.
I love the men. Don't get me wrong.
They're
but
really
I hate the
fun.
directing.
Interesting, because it's funny because I haven't seen any of them, and then we were watching the trailer for the third one, and I saw for the first time that it's Steven Soderbergh, who's a director I really, really like, and I was like, now I'm interested in seeing these because it's Steven Soderbergh. So it's interesting that you didn't like the
Ew.
directing.
Well, you go ahead and watch that, and you tell me why you like it, if you're gonna like it. Okay? I need to know.
Yeah, I
your
mean,
reasoning.
I
I
think
don't
they're
know.
fun. I don't, I mean, they're certainly not like a movie that's like the big dramatic, gonna be an Academy Award winner, type of movie, but I think they're really fun.
Yeah. The only other one I can think about is Creed 3. We saw that
Oh, yeah,
trailer,
Creed
but we've talked about that on the podcast
Yeah.
already. So,
Okay, cool.
so that's trailers. All right, let's talk about this movie called The Shop Around the Corner. I know Dwayne's done it, but it's been 20, 30 minutes since the listeners have heard it, so I'm gonna just give a quick summary. The short one is: two employees at a gift shop can barely stand each other without realizing that they are falling in love through the post as each other's anonymous pen pal. So that's the plot. So the big question, the first question, Beat, I gotta ask you. Maybe I'll ask Desi first. She's our guest. Did you like this movie? Is your first time seeing it?
Yes.
Oh, it's interesting. You seem hesitant. I thought you were going to love this movie.
I think the older I've gotten and the further into the future we've gotten, the more I find older movies to be a bit problematic.
Sure.
The harder time I have ignoring the problematic things in older movies. This one was not too bad.
There's some stuff, but
I mean, there was some stuff, but as far as older movies, like, it was certainly not the worst I've ever seen.
would you feel the same way about a modern movie that was made about that time period that still had those things in it?
No, I don't know. Like, it's a weird thing where I'm like, well,
Like it was the time period.
It
Like
was
if
the
they were
time period.
trying to be accurate about it, would it feel better if you knew that them being accurate about it was manufactured versus it just being a matter of fact in that time period?
I don't know. Gosh, I don't know.
I'm asking the tough questions
I
tonight.
don't know. I think I just notice it more now. I don't think that I'm like, oh well, this movie's terrible. I mean, it is what it is in that time period. You're right, but it definitely stands out to me more now.
Yeah. All right. Beat.
But I enjoyed it.
Did you like this movie, Beat?
I loved this movie.
Oh, you loved it. Interesting.
It was very enemies to lovers, and I read that. That's my favorite type of book, so
Okay.
I was in it.
That's great. It's interesting because I actually sort of thought Beat would just kind of like it okay and Desi would love it, and it seems like Desi liked it okay and you love it. So
Reversal.
I love the film. I think it's a great movie. It's the Christmas connection is a little loose because it's not what the main thing's about, but
Yeah.
but it's still got enough of that Christmas vibe and the way it ends and stuff.
Are we gonna Die Hard theory it?
No, we're not going to Die Hard theory this one.
Oh, thank God.
No. But I love the movie. I love the actors in it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I like sort of that nostalgic romanticism, even as dated and at times problematic, like you're saying.
Yeah.
I think there's something still very sweet about it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. I read all the same webcomics that Beat reads that are enemies to lovers and have, weird, what if they had just talked, misunderstandings. That's a big trope in webcomics.
Goodness.
So I'm there. Trust me, I'm there.
Yeah. So just to kind of rehash, basically these two, Margaret Sullivan's character and Jimmy Stewart's character, don't like each other whenever they're around each other in person, but they've sort of fallen in love with each other through their writing because they can sort of be romantic and not sort of have pretenses of what a person looks like or whatever. And they can just show who they are inside their brains, whether it's smart or thoughtful or loving or whatever. Have either of you seen the remake of this film, which is probably, I don't want to say it's more famous, but it's more well known in today's era?
Is it You've Got Mail?
It is You've Got Mail.
Because I was like, I'm getting serious You've Got Mail vibes for this.
So in You've Got Mail, the name of her bookshop is the shop around the corner.
Gotcha.
So as a little nod, this is actually a book that became a play, I think, and then the director Ernst Lubitsch bought the rights for like $7,500, which is a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
And then made this movie. But have you seen You've Got Mail?
No, I have not seen that.
No.
I will say, I think the sort of enemy part of You've Got Mail is a little stronger than it is in this movie.
Well, I think part of that is that they play up the love aspect, like the fact that it's a love story. Like, this movie isn't exactly a love story.
Yeah.
It's a movie about the shop, and a love story happens. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think
I was invested in his career.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
and the success of the shop, and in You've Got Mail, that's not really the focus. The focus is really about the two people.
Yeah, and they don't even work at the same shop.
Right. Exactly.
They update. I think it was a good update, and they certainly used the sort of email.
Yeah.
Modernized it with email versus handwritten letters, because obviously nobody fucking writes handwritten letters anymore.
Yeah.
Or hardly anyone. But before I was like picking up the You've Got Mail vibe, one of my first notes was, is he getting catfished? Because it was like, I
can imagine if it was the Weasel guy, the Weasel sales clerk instead of her.
Yeah,
and
like
he was catfishing him.
Yeah, it's like it's just such a like. Oh yeah, I just answered an ad for a pen pal in the paper, and like, who fucking knows what's gonna happen with that? Like, I don't know. I was like, is this actually a young woman who's writing to him? Or
do people have pen pals anymore that they don't know? Like, I know there's like prison pen pals and stuff like that, but
I think sometimes schools do like pen pal programs.
Sure.
But yeah, other than that, I don't know.
Okay.
I think people just go on forums now. They don't have like pen pals.
Yeah.
Go on Reddit.
Yeah.
Reddit.
So you might befriend someone there and become sort of pen pals with them. But...
Sure. So, kind of interesting. The two leads. The big one. Let's set Jimmy Stewart aside for a second. This was you had remarked that he looked really young in this.
Yeah.
This is about 6 years before, I think it was 1940, and It's a Wonderful Life came out in 1946. So that's one of the reasons why, you're like, oh, he looks a lot younger.
He looks a lot much younger.
But Margaret Sullivan was a classically trained actress. She actually came up in a repertory theater with Jimmy Stewart. They were old friends, along with Henry Fonda. And Henry Fonda and Margaret Sullivan were like, we're moving to New York to make this acting thing happen. And Jimmy Stewart's like, you know what? I think I want to give it a go. So he went with them. So they all kind of came up together. Mm-hmm. She was really, really well known for being very difficult. Mm-hmm. Not just outspoken, but kind of persnickety on set. And demanding a lot of things and wanting a lot of retakes. And what were you going to say?
Let's talk about this for a second.
Yeah.
Because I'm suddenly having this thought, like...
Did they cast her because that's what it was?
No. Oh. But I had made a comment in the movie that I liked that she kind of was like, I don't really fucking give a shit what you think about my shirt. And I'm like, suddenly going, are these old Hollywood actresses who were quote-unquote difficult?
Sure.
Were they actually just women who, like... said what they wanted and what they needed,
and I think that's true. I think that's true today too. I think
when
you hear about, and I've worked with somebody who is known as being like, I heard she's psycho, she's crazy, she's so difficult, she's mean, and then I got on set with her and she was Sean Young. She was so sweet and kind, and like the role she was playing a version of herself that was playing into that, because she knew that's what people, but she had lost a lot of work because
of that reputation.
Because of that reputation, and that's happened especially through the Me Too movement, where people were outspoken or quote unquote difficult, and they basically get blacklisted.
Yeah.
Rose McGowan was like famously, I mean, she's got lots of other issues, but she was very famously blacklisted for being sort of difficult. I think Ashley Judd as well, who also I believe was a victim. They both were victims of sexual assault as well. And she was also blacklisted as being very, very difficult. And my understanding from people I know, our close friend Nick worked with her very closely, and had so many great things to say about her. And I've heard that since sort of the Me Too movement has happened, she's sort of seen in a different light now.
Yeah.
Yes. So the answer is a long way of saying yes. I think that's probably partially the issue.
Mm-hmm.
There's also,
or like, do you become difficult because you just have like constantly getting shit on us?
Yeah, there were some like really difficult men as well that did some of the same things. So it's not completely,
not 100%
completely that's that one-sided. But like actors, especially in an era of it's like now we shoot things digitally, and back then everything was on film, and film's expensive. I mean, there's a lot of stories of directors trying to make their movie happen by buying film ends. Yeah. So like a movie doesn't quite use an entire reel, so they cut off the end, and that's like unused, and so they like cobbled together and spliced together film ends to be able to make their movie. So people that demanded a lot of retakes and perfection, that was seen as somebody who was difficult. Yeah. She was very outspoken, to answer your question.
You wouldn't have made it long with Ed Wood's.
No, she wouldn't have sat through Ed Wood's shenanigans. I think she would have seen through that immediately.
One take.
Yeah, no. But because Jimmy Stewart knew her personally and was friends with her, it was sort of seen as like, this is such a good pairing because he'll put up with her.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the thing. And I think there's the scene where he talks about having to lift up his trousers, and ultimately when you do see his legs, that could have been anybody, that doesn't have to be Jimmy Stewart, right? Yeah. And he kept flubbing the line, and they did like, I heard something like 40 takes. I don't know if it's true, but she was getting frustrated with him, and so he got frustrated, and he's like, just get somebody else, who has better legs than mine, and we'll just call it a day. And she was like, I won't finish this movie if you leave. And so they did more takes, so kind of a interesting thing where her, I think, persnicketyness rubbed off on him a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Jimmy Stewart obviously plays every man.
Yeah.
Like everybody wanted to be him. Like even to this day, I still kind of want to be Jimmy Stewart. Like he's kind of like effortlessly cool but awkward at the same time. Yeah. So it's like easily identifiable. But yeah. How about you guys give me some of your notes?
Yeah.
1 to Des, then 1 to Beat. We'll just trade back and forth.
We kind of talked about a couple of mine already.
Do you want to push it off to Beat first?
Yeah, let's go with Beat first.
All right, Beat first.
My first note is, oh my god, the letters are so adorable, which they were.
They were.
I do like how he like had the little, what is it, newspaper clip in his pocket. It's like, oh, see, this is what it said. So cute.
Oh yeah.
And the belt lady. How much is that belt in the window? $2.95. That's true. How much is that belt in the window that says $2.95? It's $2.95.
She's like, oh no, just like walks away.
There's something like, have you worked retail before?
No, not that retail.
She's worked customer service though.
Yeah. Maybe it's just identifiable across, but there's something very like familiar about that moment for anybody that's worked retail, like to this day.
Oh yeah, and my job now, it's like, hey, the system gave me this date. I'm like, yeah, and that's the date we have available. They're like, oh, okay, never mind. So yeah, no, I completely get it. I love it, and I love her reoccurringness throughout the movie. Like, hey, I'm here window shopping for my husband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you got, Des?
I did make a note that it still says Metro Goldwyn Mayer. I like when we watch old movies and it says Metro Goldwyn Mayer because like
instead of MGM.
Yeah, we just think of it as MGM now, and it's like, you know, old timey. Feels old timey to like spell it out.
Yeah.
I made the note about Jimmy Stewart being young. When we were getting ready to record, I was looking up like his career or whatever. And, you know, you said this was 1940.
Mm-hmm.
So he started in like 34.
Mm-hmm.
In 1936, he did 9 movies.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there were actors that would do like 20 movies a year.
That's insane.
And I think, like, especially in the early days, there were really only a couple of big studios. There was like RKO.
Yeah, and
there was MGM.
Use actors.
Yeah.
Yeah. They would sign you for a contract for multiple movies and
right.
use you a bunch. Yeah. I thought that was interesting.
This director, you know, goes back to like the silent film era.
Yeah.
Like this guy had been making movies since like 1916. So like by the time they got to this point, this director had done a lot too. And he was actually really known for doing kind of like big extravagant things. And so I think there was a thought that when this movie was being made and when it came out, that this was like going to be one of his big like fantastical things. And they made this movie on like $500,000, which at the time was a lot of money, but relative to other films was actually very, very little. You know, he kind of downplayed it. He was like, so this isn't going to be like, you know, I know what everybody's expecting. Like, I'm kind of worried that this is not going to be what people think is it's going to be. And, you know, I think it's charming. Hopefully people will like it. And of course people loved it. And,
yeah.
You know, it's been remade and it aired on TV hundreds and hundreds of times, probably thousands at this point.
Yeah.
They even did a radio play version of this where Margaret Sullivan and Jimmy Stewart came back and reprised their roles.
Oh,
and they cut it down to like 30 minutes to do like a little Christmas like radio play.
Special.
Yeah. So
cute.
Yeah. They made this movie, like I said, for $500,000. They only spent 28 days on it, which was very, very little for a movie back then.
Yeah.
And they shot it in chronological order. So
that's
kind of cool also.
Yeah. It's as far as like budget wise, I can see, you know, it mostly took place in the shop.
Sure. So,
you know, I'm sure they saved some money there. It wasn't like a huge set.
Yeah.
Multiple locations, you know. Let's see, what else did I write in my notes?
How about
Huh?
maybe
Do
we
you
go
like-
to
I like how he's not a kiss ass to his boss. I love that.
he wasn't a yes man, unlike the
Yeah.
other guy who actually betrays him.
Yeah.
Like something I think is kind of special, makes me love this film, is there are multiple moments sort of heartbreak, and because this movie is kind of a comedy, like it doesn't focus a ton on like the sad stuff, but it also doesn't shy away from it. And
Yeah.
I think, you know, the moment he finds out that his wife was cheating on him and he goes into his office to kill himself, I think is like this like really great eye-opening moment because you don't expect it. The hurt on Kralich's face when she basically tells him he's insignificant in the cafe. He's trying to like keep her company so she's not alone. And she just pushes him. I mean, he calls her an old maid. I mean, he's not without fault, but she just like twists the
Shot
knife.
real low.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and with the fact that he, you know, lost his job
Just
and stuff.
lost his job.
Yeah, it just really. Whew. But then despite that, he goes to basically hold her hand while she's heartbroken in bed, and I think there's something just like really sweet about that, and none of that stuff is really worth anything without him getting to watch her read the letter.
Yeah, but the thing to me though is that like, did he go to like hold her hand while she was feeling shitty, or did he go to like watch her read that letter? Like,
I think both.
Yeah,
he went to like make her feel better, and it was like kind of a multiple part plan. I think
2-part plan.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's also something interesting. I think that happens that once he becomes the manager, he becomes a caretaker of everybody.
Yeah.
He caretaker for the boss, caretaker for, you know, the employees, and specifically her.
Yeah.
As she's...
I do think it was really funny, though, that after he becomes the manager, and then he goes to check on her, and he's, like, talking about how he's, like, the dad of the store, and, like, calls her a little girl, but then is, like, also kind of, like, sort of flirting with her, and Pete was like, what is happening right now?
I think she said, ew.
Ew, what's happening?
Guys, it was giving, like... RPG age play, and I was like, oh my god, what is happening? And I was just like, calm down.
You're like, oh god.
You know,
I did not like it.
I don't know how much of that is the era, but there's like a lot of weird like things that I think are kind of weird, like when husbands call their wives mother. Like, I think that's really freaking weird, and like a guy does that in this movie also. And yeah, there's some weird age stuff that I think was like fine back then, but seems really off now.
Yeah.
Are you talking about Peppy?
No, the what is his name? It was, I'll tell you, one sec. Give me one sec. I swear to God.
The guy who's like his friend at the store.
Yeah, Pirovich.
Pirovich,
who like told his wife that they didn't have to go to somebody's house for dinner because he had to work late. He referred to her as mother in that scene. Yeah. And that's a thing that people do. I mean, there are some people that still do it today. Like, former Vice President Mike Pence referred to his wife as mother, like, frequently.
Yeah. I think a lot of people who have kids will be like, ask mom, like, refer to their spouse as mom or mother to their children.
To the children's fine.
But not to, like, other people outside of their marriage.
I mean, hey, what you keep in the bedroom, that's fine in the bedroom.
That's not what I meant. I meant, like...
But that's the vibe it kind of gives now.
Yeah, well,
and I
think...
Norman Bates.
Yeah, and that was a messed up relationship.
Yeah, but I think also, I think, you know, the reason that we maybe kind of see it as a little more icky now is because women probably started going, you know what, I'm more than a mother. Like, I have a fucking name and I'm an individual human. Yeah. Like, you know, like, as
That's
women,
not why I think it's icky now.
I think for women, it's kind of like, I don't want my husband to call me mother because I am not just a mother. Like,
well, that's a social thing. That's not an ick thing. You know what I mean? I don't think that's.
I think it's ick because your mother is your mother, and I should not be in the same field as your mother.
Right, because I'm not your mother.
Because you wouldn't sleep with your mother.
Right. Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah.
So, anyways, what somebody else hit me with another note.
Let's see. Oh, I did like Pirowitz. That was his name.
Pirovich. Yeah.
I like when he was like, "Well, what do you need 3 rooms for?" Fucking cracked me up. He was like, you know, a bedroom, a kitchen, and a living room or whatever. And he was like, wow, what do you need 3 rooms for? You live in the bedroom and you eat in the kitchen. Like,
he's like, get a big kitchen. Though. He does say get a big kitchen.
Get a big kitchen. Yeah. He's like, what do you want to have guests for?
I mean, in some ways, it's kind of what like a lot of apartments are, especially like 1-bedroom apartments. Yeah. It's sort of like a dining room, kitchen are always together.
Yeah.
They're not separated by a wall or anything.
But we don't live in a studio. You know, we have a living room and a bedroom.
Well, he wasn't saying a studio.
No, he said, why do you need 3 rooms? You just live in your bedroom.
Yeah, I thought he meant 2 rooms.
It's like a studio, basically. Like,
okay, maybe.
Yeah, I just thought it was a funny comment.
Did just curious, did either of you recognize Matashek from anything?
Well,
no.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Oh,
he's the great and powerful Oz.
Okay, I can see it now.
Yeah.
What would you say if I told you I have not seen that one?
Oh my god.
The Wizard of Oz?
I gotta add it to the wheel? Is that what you're saying?
I've seen like the newer ones.
Beat.
Not
okay.
Like the OG.
It's gonna happen probably in the new year.
Listen. Judy Garland suffered for her career.
Suffered. Well, it permanently ruined her, that movie.
Yeah, but I mean, suffered in general for her career, but especially for that movie, like.
Well, they basically, I mean, we can talk about this in the episode, but just to give you a rough idea, they basically needed her like constantly working and energized, so they just were like pumping her full of amphetamines, and she was a kid, and she formed a really really terrible drug habit that would eventually lead to a lot of health issues and death eventually. And a lot of like psychological trauma for the rest of her career because of that movie.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's a great movie.
And it is a great movie.
Why are we still supporting this movie?
Yeah, I know. It's weird when there's something that's so iconic, and then I think we've known about it long enough. Like we learned about it back when people didn't care about that. Like that didn't affect whether people would support something. We live in a more like social justice age. Where people have decided that they'll vote with their dollars, and we spent that movie was like 1939, I think, 34.
I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't know.
I wasn't alive.
And it came out in theaters over and over again, and we learned about it through it's 60, 70, 80 years old now, almost. So, I think people are kind of
so crazy.
Yeah,
because like there's artists that I won't even listen to anymore just for that.
Yeah,
and like Ruth will be like, "Why don't you listen to him?" And I'm like, "You know why?" She's like, "Because he doesn't care about your change." I was like, "Yeah, but if it's a bunch of our change,
because
different."
Because he beat Rihanna, or whatever.
I mean, that's
that guy.
Them,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's also a weird thing too, though, where like that doctor that she went to was he was called Dr. Feelgood and like drugged up a lot of celebrities.
I thought you were talking about this movie.
No. The doctor
like,
that Judy Garland went to.
Yeah.
The doctor that Judy Garland went to.
Yeah.
Was drugging up a whole bunch of people and doing some real shady shit.
Yeah, it was like Michael Jackson's doctor.
Yeah.
But anyways.
But yeah.
We'll get off drug talk.
I digress.
She's not even in this movie.
You gotta see it, B. That's the takeaway. It's a very good movie.
It'll be added to the list. The big wheel.
I'll put away my morals.
Well,
I get conflicted about, guys like Roman Polanski and Woody Allen, who are both pedophiles. Because, they have these like we did Annie Hall for this podcast, and it was one of those things I was really, really conflicted about it. But, we sort of put all these must-see movies in what was at the time the Muppet bucket, and drew them randomly. And it's interesting because I watched the movie, and I can't say that I'm not tainted by the person.
Yeah.
You hear some people say, well, you should separate the art from the artist or whatever. And it's like, you don't have to. You don't have to do that. Like you can recognize that somebody's really, really talented, but they're also an asshole. And so you don't want to have to support them. I think if another Woody Allen movie came up, I would probably say, let's not put it on the wheel at this point.
Yeah. And that's like a weird situation.
Let's separate the crime from the criminal.
Yeah.
Fuck up.
Well, have you seen Rosemary's Baby?
No.
Okay, so that's like classic horror film, right? That's like almost horror 101. And it's kind of like, if you're a horror person, you should. It's like that, The Exorcist, Suspiria, Dawn of the Dead, or maybe Night of the Living Dead. I like Dawn of the Dead better. Those are all like movies that really launched horror into kind of what it is now. And that's a movie made by a pedophile. Yeah, Jeepers Creepers is another one made by a pedophile.
I want to let you know that I have not watched Jeepers Creepers since you told me about that.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks, right? Like,
yeah.
But, anyways, I didn't mean to bring the podcast down. Sorry about that.
Still in the pod.
okay. So does anybody else have any other notes they would like to share?
Oh, you were talking about how like he looked really down. One of the things that he looked really down about to me is when he got canned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was just so surprised because this is like his whole life and he loved it so much. And he was like, I'm going to ask for a raise and I'm so happy. And little did he know.
Yeah.
Mr. was like, you're messing with my wife.
Yeah. And, you know, it really came out of left field for him. And,
because he didn't mess with his wife.
And it's really, in a really smart way, they set up in the film that they had disagreements, that he wasn't a yes man, kind of like you were talking about, and he and he and the boss would kind of go at each other, but it was always okay because, you know, usually Kralik was right, like with the music box cigarette boxes.
Yeah, I did think it was pretty funny that she like sold one and he was like, let's buy 20, and then they're like still sitting there 6 months later.
But yeah, so, you know, that without that setup, you know, I basically the setup is paid off really well.
Yeah.
To Beat's point.
Mm-hmm.
Any other notes, anybody?
I did notice that there were a couple of times where she wore like a different combination of the same clothes, which, you know, is nice in a movie about like a woman who probably doesn't make very much money, can't afford a ton of clothes, you know.
I'm glad you brought that up. So they gave her like $2
mm-hmm.
to go to, maybe $3. I think it was $2 to go buy a dress that a sales clerk would wear. They gave her like, hey, go buy something off the rack. And she came back with what she thought was like this kind of drab, like kind of boring thing. And the director was like, nah, it's still too nice. So my understanding is they took it and set it out in the sun for days to like fade it. But yeah, I think to your point.
Yeah. It wasn't like, oh, she's got a brand new outfit. Like she had the same coat every day.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like.
I say this a lot on the podcast. It's the little things, you know, small details go such a long way in a movie.
Yeah. Let's see. The only other thing I wrote down in my notes was that I thought he was being pretty mean at the end when he was like making her doubt her, you know, love for the leather
I wouldn't
guy.
call him fat.
Yeah,
He was.
like,
I think he was trying.
He seemed like he'd be fine with your salary alone. She was like, "Oh fuck."
What were you gonna say, Beat?
I think he was trying to downplay it so that she wouldn't be as disappointed as what she could have been when he revealed that it was him. And he was
like,
scared.
"Well, at least I'm not fat and I make a living."
Yeah, I think the subtext there, right, is that he is insecure about himself.
Yeah.
And they don't just like make a big point out of that. I think it's very a subtle message, but he's very insecure about who he is and doesn't necessarily think he's been told by this woman over and over again that he's not worthy of love.
Yeah.
And so this like downplaying it. So like maybe if I make it somebody that seems worse than me,
then when it is me,
yeah,
she'll
kind
be
of
like,
what Beat was
"Oh,
saying.
okay, cool."
Yeah.
I love the way he looked at her when she was reading his letter, when she was psychologically sick,
yeah,
from a broken heart. When he was standing there and he kept taking little peeks at her, I thought that was so sweet. But right before that, it was not sweet; it was weird.
Yeah, sure.
I did like that she was like, you know, it was interesting the way that they kind of both dismissed but also treated like mental anguish in this movie. Like, you know, the boss is suicidal and like everyone's like, no, like take time off, like take, you know, you have to get well or whatever. But you know, she kind of was also like, well, I'm not, you know, don't worry, it's nothing like physical, like I don't need to go to a doctor. Just, you know, in today's culture, we're kind of like, well, you do need a doctor. It's just a different kind of doctor. You know, like you just need a head doctor instead of a body doctor. And, you know, it was interesting because then she also sort of contradicted that in being like, well, don't say only psychological. Like I'm, you know, like it's terrible.
Yeah. Something I just remembered, that you had mentioned the actors doing a bunch of movies in a year, like Jimmy Stewart would do 9 in a year or whatever. Yeah. So two things. One was the director Ernst Lubitsch really wanted Margaret Sullivan and Jimmy Stewart for this movie, so they delayed production until they were available, and while they were waiting for them to just like become available, he filmed a whole nother movie called Ninotchka. That's what that movie's called.
Not wasting no time.
No, but the same year that this came out in 1940, Margaret Sullivan, Jimmy Stewart, the guy that played Matashek, and the waiter were all in another movie together the same year that this came out. So that kind of goes back to this idea that people were sort of like, a lot of the same actors were used over and over and over again. It wasn't quite as big a field of actors.
Yeah.
There were still kids in a farm in Iowa waiting to have, ride out on a bus and have their Hollywood dream. Like, meanwhile, these people were all getting all the work.
Yeah.
So, anything else you got for us, Beat?
I like the kid. I like the errand boy. He was my favorite.
Peppy.
Peppy, that little rascal.
I love Peppy. So
he was so petty.
Yeah,
Totally
he's pretty
was.
funny.
He's like, at the end, he like takes the kid's tip, and he's like, too much.
So it's funny that you bring up Peppy. The guy that played the double crosser, the guy that was having the affair, when he was a kid, his nickname was Peppy.
That's funny.
I don't know if that influenced this at all. And speaking of influence, I should mention that this movie is based on the fact that Ernst Lubitsch used to work in his father's store, and so a lot of like sort of the that's why the store is such a focus. That's why that's kind of really the main focus of this movie. And so I think some of the characters are sort of like based on that, and some of the interactions and stuff. So
it's cute.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought of something I was going to say and then I forgot.
Oh, she forgot it.
This is why I'm not a professional podcaster full time.
Yeah, well,
my brain doesn't.
We can't all be as amazing as Beat.
I was going to say that his friend is amazing. I don't know if he did it on purpose, but when he was like, "Oh, I would get that box for my uncle because I hate him."
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was like, "Oh, for the save."
Yeah, what a wingman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a pretty good wingman, good friend, which I enjoyed very much.
And he defended him to Mr. I don't know how to say his name. This man,
Matushek.
Matushek.
Or maybe it was Matashek.
Matashek.
Yeah, Matashek. He defended him to Mr. Matashek. He was like, "Are you sure? Are you positive? Because he's like the best man you had in here.
Yeah.
Are you sure?"
Yeah. Yeah, he was almost like he's like a little guardian angel.
Yeah.
Trying to kind of guide things. What did the two of you think about the fact that this movie was largely American actors, but this whole thing takes place in a foreign country? Like even the newspapers are all in another language, Turkish, I think.
Yeah, I did notice that. The
cash register had, instead of like dollars and cents, it had like Pengu and whatever.
It doesn't bother me, and I don't think that's a thing that we've even gotten completely away from. I think we still make movies about foreign countries that are in the language that the filmmaker makes it in.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Cruise in Valkyrie, it doesn't have a German accent, but he plays like a super famous German guy.
Right. Like, I think that's not uncommon, and I think there are, not me, but I think there are a lot of audiences who don't want to read subtitles and will not watch a movie about a foreign country or a foreign movie because it has subtitles. So, I think sometimes it's okay to have a movie that takes place in a foreign country that's in not that language.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
What about you? How did you feel about it? Did it seem weird or?
I didn't feel anyway.
Yeah, it didn't really strike
it didn't bother me or.
They did a pretty good job of sort of like being true to, I think, Budapest and.
Yeah, and I mean, like, they used their, like, currency and...
Yeah, the cash that they had, and...
Yeah, they didn't, like, Americanize it too much.
I think there's...
I've never been to Budapest, so I'm not 100% sure, but...
Yeah, I've never been. I think there's one thing in the movie... I'm trying to, like, look here and see if I can remember what it is. There's one thing that is not in Turkish... that the sign advertising the markdown on the sign that was from 550 to 250 or whatever, that was in English because they thought it was really important that audiences understood that they went all in on this thing and they're taking a bath on it. So that's one of the only things that's not in the Hungarian. I keep saying Turkish. Hungarian. Apologies to all of our Hungarian listeners or anyone else that might be offended by that accident.
Yeah, I think,
I did like how they were complete opposites, though. That was a big part for me. Like, he was not a kiss ass. She was a kiss ass. She was very romantic and he was very books, and I can quote this for you, but he didn't make up anything or try to be false or more than what he was. And she was just like, oh, it's so romantic. He's like, that was stolen.
Yeah, Victor Hugo. Yeah, and there's like a really subtle like nod to that right at the very beginning of the movie when he's like, I bought an encyclopedia because I'm tired of going dancing. I want to learn more.
Yeah.
And, that's a pretty, again, another smart, subtle thing that probably a lot of people don't think about when the movie's over. So yeah.
Other than that, I don't think I have any more notes.
All right.
It was a good movie.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else for you. Are you ready to find out what our next movie is?
I reckon I'd like to hear it.
It is the 1970 film musical Scrooge, featuring Albert Finney.
There's a musical Scrooge?
Oh yeah, it's got great music. It's really fun. It's got the ending, but it's got a great ending. Pretty good special effects for 1970, and Albert Finney is amazing. Like I love Albert Finney anyways, but he's particularly excellent in this film. And it's funny to hear some of like the classic lines delivered by Albert Finney, and they've for me have become so iconic. This is a movie that every year at Christmas my family watched. So and we would, and we still do, decorate our Christmas tree to the soundtrack to this. When I was a kid, my dad would he had the vinyl soundtrack, and he would put it on the record player, and we would decorate the tree. And Desi and I do a digital version of that now, but we still do it to this day. So this movie is like, I'll probably go over all this again with Alexis here, but this is a very special movie to me, and I'm excited to finally be able to do it on the podcast and talk about it because I love it so much.
Oh, I'm so excited now.
Yeah. So we will see all our lovely viewsters here in a week. Des, do you want anyone to follow you on social or anything?
I mean, you can if you want. It's
Instagram or something.
50% design and 57% dog pictures.
Sometimes feet. Not that kind of feet. Not that kind of feet, people.
Calm down, Wes.
But like when you find like interesting tile or whatever, you do a selfie.
Shoes or whatever.
Yeah,
yes.
You'll do a selfie. Not the spicy feet.
Don't go to my profile if you're looking for spicy foot pictures.
Don't ask for those.
They're not spicy. And
they're not bare feet or anything. Oh man, I can't believe I said that. So, what's your Instagram handle? So
it's Blueprint Betty. That's what I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter too, but I never use it, and I'll probably delete it, honestly.
Everybody's flocking away from Twitter here.
I never use it anyway.
I tried to look at Mastodon and couldn't understand how to use it, so I just closed it. Like, all right,
I don't even know what that is.
that's the thing that a lot of people are moving to is Mastodon.
Okay.
But it's a little bit like Discord, like it's servers, and you join a server,
interesting.
and then you can but once you join a server, you can communicate on any server with anyone. But I don't fully understand it, and I got really confused, and so I felt like a really old person, and which is weird because I think it's sort of designed for older people, but yeah,
Maybe you're not old enough.
yeah, maybe I'm in the weird in between.
You're in the upside down.
Yeah. Too young and too old to understand at the same time.
I'm also on Pinterest. I have a lot of Pinterest boards.
Oh yeah, you've got movie related Pinterest boards.
Boatload. I honestly haven't posted those in a long time,
But you do have some.
I do have a couple. That's also Blueprint Betty. If anyone wants to look at my.
Yeah.
So it's. I mean, that's obviously a lot of design stuff, but.
All right. Cool. Blueprint
If you
Betty.
want to see pictures of Walt, they're all over my Instagram.
He's very cute.
He is very cute.
He is.
He's tripping around here somewhere.
All right. Well, then I'm gonna wrap it up. Don't forget, Christmas is next week, right around the corner. Hanukkah as well. Happy Hanukkah to all of our
I just was
Jewish
like,
friends.
what are you talking? Oh yeah, we're recording it in advance.
You guys kill the illusion every time. I'm like, I'm gonna pretend like this is the actual week, and they'll just go with me on this.
Merry Christmas, everybody!
Oh boy. Anyways, so until next week, Bon Cinema.